Good morning and hello, viewers and listeners. I am glad to be able to participate in the 16 days of activism, whose theme has mainly looking at gender-based violence and specifically violence against women and children, which is a very important and salient factor to address from a global perspective, a national perspective, institutional and family and individual level as well, to avoid scenarios of violating rights of certain individuals and communities, either directly or indirectly. And as an institution, we are definitely very glad to participate, because as part of the mandate of an institution like Mbarara University of Science and Technology, we must make sure that we have got students, we have got graduates who are sensitive to gender-related issues, who are competent in gender-related issues, because that is how we shall be able to reach the broader part of the country, because we have an advantage of having a likely multiplier effect. Our students, our members of the community come from all over the country, come from within the broader East African region, including our international partners. And therefore we feel that we can also have an impact when we participate in this cause that is a concern globally and nationally. Basically, the university has endeavored to put in place policies that can address issues of forms of inequities. Gender-based violence-related aspects many times go unreported, largely because possibly individuals are ignorant about their rights for a number of reasons. One, that certain cultures do not actually realize that certain practices violate the rights of different categories of people. However, at the institutional level, we are available to intervene in the case of any form of reporting. We are prepared at policy level. We work within existing legal frameworks, and should any cases be reported, we have sufficient capacities to have them addressed, to make sure that fairness and justice is done, and not only done, but seen to be done. We have actually the policies in place, and to a large extent, they are being tested and where necessary being implemented. Of course, there could be limitations, especially at the level of implementation. We endeavor to do a lot more in terms of awareness raising and sensitizing the communities. Interestingly, one thing we have observed in academic institutions like ours, we actually have a population of members in the community who are readily available, but again, hard to reach. Hard to reach in a sense that because we share a lot of information in various fora, online, we presuppose, and many members in the community actually assume that they know. Even when in some instances, they may actually not be as sensitized as possibly we think. Nevertheless, what we really need to have is a deliberate allocation of resources to have regular interaction, regular reminders, especially with the students. Some young people actually violate their own rights and their friends' rights, knowingly or by taking situations for granted. And we are trying to make sure that we have a campus citizenry that is actually aware of the risks of violating certain rights and certain laws, because at the end of the day, the long arm of the law will catch up with them, and they must not plead ignorance. At institutional level, we still appreciate that we still have populations with vulnerabilities. And these vulnerabilities need to be addressed so that we can be able to accommodate different individuals despite their special needs here and there. We indeed, for more than 1 decade, we have mainstreamed HIV/AIDS. And we are still highlighting it within the 16 days of activism, because still there is sufficient national statistics, evidence-based information, empirical evidence to show that HIV/AIDS is still spreading across the country. And given that our population is a young population, basically the student population ranges between 18 to 25 years. These are at still a very vulnerable stage of contracting HIV/AIDS and other STIs. So we still mainstream that as a vulnerability, so that we minimize workplace, study place spread of HIV/AIDS. We also mainstream special needs, people with special needs, especially people with disabilities. Unfortunately, we still don't have sufficient infrastructure, mainly for access in some areas, some of our premises, especially some of the old structures. But at least we are ensuring now that going forward, we prioritize access, we prioritize having facilities to support both the workers and the students to access the workplace, the students to access their education without unnecessary impediments. We want to improve inclusiveness within the campus environment, within the programs that we offer, so that we do not leave out people because of their likely disabilities, or, if I may brutally term it, the requirement for special needs to support their education, support their performance at the workplace. It has really been a great opportunity for the university to participate in the 16 days of activism. As a university whose mandate is to do teaching, the 16 days of activism gives us also an opportunity to extend information to members of the community outside there. We also know that we have got members of staff and students who are conducting research related to gender-related issues, related to human rights, and therefore we also feel obliged to let the population know that the university is also very concerned about this. And also because of being a community-based institution, where we believe that our training, our research must be able to address the community needs, when it comes to an opportunity like this one of joining the rest of the world in the 16 days of activism, we definitely feel obliged to participate and contribute in whatever modest way in making sure that the world is working towards addressing the rights of everybody. And as we conclude the 16 days of activism, I would want to encourage us all, to encourage everybody to be sensitive, to be conscious in all our undertakings of not violating the rights of others. It's very important that each one feels protected, feels secure in whichever spaces we operate from, on campus and outside the campus. I thank you and greet you all.